Elijah, I have a joke, by the way. Did you know, it's not even a joke, it's a pun.
Okay.
Do you know that music can never be flat? Inspired by Maria Gichu. Maria Gichu, this is your hack. Music can never be flat. If you don't get it, forget about it, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, people who listen to music, choir people, if you simply enjoy music, welcome to this amazing podcast. It's known as Chamber Chats, and it has been curated and created by this amazing team known as Chamber Music Kenya. Follow them right here. I'm hoping there's an icon, otherwise I look quite stupid, but follow them right here. The Instagram is right here. And we have created a podcast that's going to dive deep into the background of music. What is the process before you finally receive that final project, that final piece, knowing the artist, knowing the emotions behind it, knowing each and every moment of creation, and just trying to wrap it all in a simple podcast. And today we have been joined by an amazing artist known as Chatori, who has traveled the world, who has very many experiences, and has created some very interesting music that we're about to hear. So get ready as we start this session. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome for joining us in this amazing podcast, this Chamber Chats podcast, where we are going to be diving into music, trying to see its intricacies, the journey before the final product. And today we are joined by an amazing artist known as Chatori Shimizu. Welcome, Chatori.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Chatori is an amazing artist who is able to infuse innovation with his deep thought when it comes to life. And we will be discussing his pieces, his compositions. And just for someone who's out there trying to understand who you are, would you please describe yourself and introduce yourself?
Sure.
Yes.
My name is Chatori Shimizu. I was born in Osaka, Japan. I am a composer, a show player, and a sound artist.
That is amazing. To that individual who's probably watching us right now and is trying to understand what exactly is, or rather who is a show player, would you kindly elaborate?
Sure. So a sho is a Japanese traditional instrument. It is a mouth organ that I have right here. It has 17 vertical bamboo pipes resting on top of this mouth head, and it is bundled together with this silver ring here. Unfortunately, I am not able to play this instrument right at this moment because this instrument is a very unique instrument. It needs to be heated on top of a charcoal or a electric heater about 10 to 15 minutes before I play, and after 10 to 15 minutes of playing, I will need to reheat it again for the same exact amount of time.
If I may ask, why exactly would you need to heat up the instrument?
Yes, because it is because our breath contains moisture, and we don't want the moisture to condense inside of the instrument. Therefore, the inside of the instrument must be warmer than the temperature of my breath.
Oh, all right. And if I may ask, because I have never seen this instrument in Kenya, is this a cultural piece that is specifically found in Japan? And furthermore to the question, is it an instrument that can be played by Kenyans, or is it specifically for traditional purposes when it comes to the Japanese culture?
Great question. So to your first question, yes, the sho is a Japanese traditional instrument which we can only find in Japan. However, we have a family instruments. In Korea, it's called the senghwa. In China, it's called the sheng. And we also have a family instruments in Southeast Asia too, such as the can and the sompotong. It is believed, scholars believe that the sho came from the Tang Dynasty China about 1,200 years ago into Japan. And it is the original shape of the modern day sheng. And to your second question, that is a very, very great question. And many people have different answers to your question. However, I personally believe very strongly that with the soul of respect to the culture, as artists, we are free to do anything. We are free to dive into another culture respectfully. And of course, respect is a very subjective thing. It cannot be defined and agreed upon by everyone in the world. But if your heart is in the right place, and if you have a soul of respect, I believe that we are all citizens of the earth. Yeah, we don't need to divide ourselves by nationalities or by race.
All right. So the word that I'm getting from this is respect. That you can't be able to use the instrument, just use it in a very respectful way. Right? All right, that is amazing. You also mentioned that you are a sound artist, right? For someone out there who's trying to understand what that is, how would you describe that?
That is a very great question again. And I don't have a straightforward answer because we don't have a solid definition of what a sound artist is. The boundaries of the definition of sound art is very vague. And that is actually the reason that I use this title, sound artist, because as a music composer, people have expectations on what I do. But as a sound artist, I feel much more freer. I express myself, I create works using sound. And that is the definition of a sound artist.
So it does come with what I am understanding is that sound artist is freedom to explore when it comes to sound and its creation and its intricacies when it comes to the details.
Yes, I strongly believe that.
And now, since it resonates from freedom, right? It means it also resonates from inspiration. What inspires you when it comes to creation?
Yes, what inspires me? I think most of my works, it stems from my life, my experiences in this life that I'm living right now. I'm fortunate enough that my music takes me to a lot of places around the world.
Yeah, I've seen you've traveled so much. You were recently in Tanzania, and before that, you were also performing. Was it in Colombia?
Yes, in Colombia. And yeah, just me putting myself in environments that is new to me and deeply engaging with the people there, trying to learn the language, observing every detail of where I am. For example, when I am eating, I imagine what ingredients are used in this food. How is it cooked? The details are very, very important for me in life. And before I know it, consciously or unconsciously, it will get digested. The experience will get digested inside of me. And the expressions just come.
All right. And then you try writing down the expressions because
Yes.
you have informed me and I have been able to read that you do compose a lot of music, right? And it seems that you're a very self-aware individual who is able to just see life from a different point of view. Have people come to you and expressed how your music has spoken to them, how they've related with your own experiences since they come from a very personal perspective?
Well, yes. And first, you mentioned that I'm a very self-aware person, but actually, I really don't know whether I am a very self-aware person or not. Of course, I can't compare myself with other people because I live in this subjective world. So yeah, I try to be detail-oriented in life and I try to observe the details. But is this enough? I am not sure. And yeah, there are many people who have come up to me after experiencing my work to say how the work resonated in them or how it connected with them. And many times, actually, it's a new perspective that I haven't thought about during the process of composing. I was not aware that I was expressing something, but it's actually the audience with a fresh perspective telling me, actually, this work might mean this way. It might mean a completely different thing than I have initially imagined during the composition process.
And does that shock you to see how you probably interpreted music like this, with this specific idea in mind? Then somebody comes and just brings a whole new light.
I think it's the essence of life, maybe. We humans, we people we're unable to know ourselves fully. I'm sure that you have experiences too, that somebody, maybe your close friend or a family member, tells you, oh, you talk like this, or you have a tendency to do this, you have a habit of doing this, and you didn't notice it until that point where somebody told you that. That has happened to me a lot. And yeah, I think art is very similar. We tend to think that artists know what they're doing. We tend to think that artists know what they're expressing, but actually no. We probably know about 10% of what we are consciously expressing, but the unconscious part, which oozes out from our expressions, that is the essence of art, I think. And for that, to really understand that unconscious part, unconscious expression, we will need a third-person perspective to look at the art, to experience the art, and to have a conversation together.
All right. And I think that's very beautiful. In fact, I saw that you also absorb from people's experiences. 4 months ago, you were able to post a video about the details and how love is intertwined when two people come together. Would you like to speak about that piece and how the environment that you were in influenced your composition and your direction when it comes to that specific video?
Yes. So that is, I believe that is my piece, Shay Shay Raccoon. Yes, it is talking about love between two people and how the society views love as a very fun thing, or a bubbly thing, or a happy thing, which is very true. However, it has, it is a very deep well, let's put it this way. It is a very, it can be a very dangerous thing. It can be a very muddy thing.
Point to note, very dangerous.
Yes. It can change your life in a very good way or a very difficult way. And yeah, I got this concept after having a conversation with a contemporary composer, Haya Chernovin. And she was saying the exact same things. And that conversation really inspired me to create this work.
All right. Going back to your inspiration points, right? From a younger age, right? Because after reading your biography, I was able to see that you were able to get a professional diploma when you were 12 years old. So is music something that you just wanted to do since birth? You just came into the world and said, music is it? Or was there somewhere that you decided that?
So during my childhood, I was a very introverted child. I rarely talked with people. And I believe that is the reason that my parents and my piano teacher, they pushed me very hard to play the piano, to train me with the piano, because playing the piano, we don't need to speak.
So you did not start with the show, you started with the piano?
Yes, I was in kindergarten.
All right, kindergarten.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
All right.
And yes, as you said, I received my professional diploma in piano performance when I was 12. However, I kind of drifted away from classical piano after getting my diploma. It was kind of a burnt out situation. And for a couple of years, I was away from the piano. Now, I think it was the end of middle school. Again, I was a very quiet student, only talking to a very small handful of close friends. And I had a chance to play the piano in front of the whole school in an assembly. And after playing, I think it was Beethoven's Sonata Number 1, the whole school kind of exploded with cheers and smiles. And I noticed that moment. Music can be a communication. So after that experience, I went back to the piano, but this time not in classical music. I was improvising on the piano. Now, music is as you know, time-based art. So once you stop playing, once you finish playing, the music disappears into the thin air. And sometimes when I improvised on the piano, I had a motif or a chord that I really liked. But always, after playing, it's gone. So from that moment, I started to study the recording techniques and notation, music theory, so that I could preserve the sound motifs that I liked. And yeah, that is my journey, which brought me to composition and being a composer.
All right. And when it comes to now this specific instrument, the show, where exactly did you start?
So I was exposed to the show from an early age, but I really started playing this instrument in university, in college, the Kunitachi College of Music in Tokyo, Japan. Yeah, so it's a very interesting story, but in Japan, I think we can say that the country and the youth are very westernized. Of course, the definition of westernization varies to people.
Yes, it does.
So I can't explain this in one sentence or two. But young people especially, people are more familiar with, let's say, a violin or a piano than with Japanese instruments such as the sho or the shamisen or koto. And to be honest, I was the same way. I played the piano, I studied the Western composition techniques, music theory, instrumentation, orchestration. And it was in university where I became very good friends with a Danish exchange student. And it was him who, in our conversation, really inspired me about the uniqueness of sho, the uniqueness of the time identity of the sho, the sound of the sho. And it was that moment where he told me, Mayumi Miyata, who is a pioneer of this instrument in both the traditional context and the contemporary context, she is teaching it at Kunitachi College of Music. And it is a shame if I don't get to know her and study with her. So yeah, I'm very thankful. And also, I think it's a very interesting story that it was a Danish exchange student who reintroduced me to this instrument. And yeah, that's the start of my journey with the sho, which brought me everywhere in the world.
Yeah, because I've seen you have traveled a lot. And now when it comes to this specific instrument, most of the time it has been used in traditional Japanese music.
Yes.
What made you decide to focus on contemporary music? Right? Even when it comes to the sounds and all that you have recorded, you have decided to move on a whole new dimension of contemporary music. Where does that inspiration come from? Is it from your professor?
Yes. So for me, although I have introduced myself as a composer, as a sho player, as a sound artist, I don't really divide the mediums separately. I feel that when I'm performing on the sho, improvising on the sho, or when I'm composing on paper, notating my ideas on paper, or when I'm building sound sculptures, I think they are all my musical expressions. And Yeah, I don't put fences around different genres. Okay, this is my composition, this is my sound artwork. It's all a mixture of my life experiences and what I have studied into one medium of my expression. And yeah, studying this instrument in both the traditional context and in contemporary music, I believe that I could bring a lot of the unique concepts of this instrument. For example, the time identity of this instrument, where it is not a metronomical instrument. The time flows very differently with orchestral music, for example. And that experience, that learning of the concepts, have brought me to compose music, notate my music, most of my music, without the time signature and the tempo indication, because I want to free the music from the metronomical time identity.
All right, and that is amazing. And guys, just to have a better understanding, we're going to showcase a few clips just for you to understand the compositions that have been created. So let's take a listen to it. So guys, you've been able to see and listen to the videos and the sound that Chatori has created over the years. And now, the question that the audience would also like to ask you, because we were able to get questions from some people, is how do you come up with these compositions? What goes into the process? How do you just sit down and create a piece of art that is that beautiful and so different and so contemporary? What's your creative process?
So it's very different for every work. It's completely different. For example, for my piece Big Mosquito, it stems from an experience where I was in upstate New York and I was attacked by a giant mosquito. And that trauma kind of triggered something in me, I guess. And yeah, before I knew it, I was writing feverishly, just composing. And I didn't stop until I finished the piece. For others, it is a very rigorous process. Sometimes it feels like wringing a dry towel. You know, you want something to come out. You want inspirations. You want the music to come out, but nothing comes out. So I just need to suffer. It is a very suffering process to create something from 0 to 1. So yeah, every piece is different, and yeah, it is extremely difficult for me to say what I do behind the scenes.
But do you have moments in which you have an idea? For example, let's look at the mosquito idea. You have the concept, but something is not clicking. Something is not clicking. What are you doing in such moments? What is the creative process looking at at that point of being stuck?
When I'm stuck, to be honest, there's nothing that I can do. I can read a book, I can take a walk, I can talk to my friends, but really nothing can help me except for myself. So I just need to live my life. I just need to focus on the details. I just need to open my eyes, open my ears to my surroundings, and just wait until something comes up.
All right. And are there pieces that we've not been able to hear before? Are there pieces that are in the archives waiting to be released?
Yes, there are many that I started but could not finish, or I finished it, but I just really could not bring it to the world because something is missing. And until I find that something, whether that is a sound or a medium or a new technique, that work is going to be buried in my shelf.
Oh. And you seem to speak so passionately about your music. However, I just have to ask this question. Do you have any favorite piece when it comes to the work that you have created? Is there a piece that you just look at and you're like, this one is my favorite?
Every work that I have expressed, they're like my children. So on the basis that it is very, very difficult to say this is my favorite, I'm very proud of my work, Kirin Telephone. That is a work where I have combined many mediums, including performance art, notated composition, movement art, light, videography, choreography, many things. And I have created a musical work out of those mediums. It's one work that I am very proud of and I am very happy about the final product, how it looks and how it sounds and how it is.
All right. Because we have also seen from the videos that you are able to infuse different forms of art into your music. Is that something that you've just learned as you've grown in your journey, or you completely knew that my art has to look like this?
That's a great question. For me, every piece is, again, different. So talking about Big Mosquito, for example, I did not create a music video for that because it is a sound-based piece. The sound is the most important thing in that work. It's, again, inspired by my trauma of hiding under the covers in the bed and listening to the buzzing of this giant mosquito coming closer to me, going farther away and coming close again. And it is a recreation of not just that mosquito sound, but my whole experience. And that can only be created with pure sound. However, when we talk about Nenneko Pantsu or Kirin Telephone, a video is extremely important because I will need the audience to view my work in a first-person perspective, to go into that chamber, to interact with the musicians and my music, interact with the movement artist. So every piece is different.
Yeah. And very unique, like the one that involved love. I saw you wore an entire costume in order to rather relay the message. And I think it did so quite really well. And I saw that entire piece and it was really, really, really beautiful. And you speak so passionately when it comes to music, which brings me to this statement. If you could please finish this for me. Music is, if you could just tell me, if I was to just say music is, how would you finish that statement?
I can definitely say that music is something that saved me.
Beautiful. Hey,
Yeah.
yo. I was about to say sounds, but yeah, applause, guys, applause, guys. I think that's a very beautiful statement. So, music saved you.
Yes. Without music, I don't know where I will be. Without music, I don't think would be sitting here in Nairobi in this beautiful studio and talking to you. I would not have been able to travel the world to all the corners of the world. I would not have been able to live, I think. Yeah, I don't really do well in a group setting, so I had difficulties in school. I really am not confident to work in a company setting. Yeah, I have many things that I am so observant in the details, perhaps too much. So sometimes the noise of the details bothers me a lot. And I really don't know how to live in this society if not for music.
All right. And I think for now we will take a break because that last statement is really, really beautiful to hear how music saved you and because we've had a chat before this, I've been able to know your journey. And I think it is very, very inspiring because you teach artists and musicians to not only look at how to create a piece of music or what to create, but why to create it, the details behind it. And I think that is very inspiring. And we will be back. And guys, thank you so much for staying tuned in. What you've just seen is his prowess when it comes to this specific instrument that has enabled him to travel to many different countries. And now let me just ask you, because so many artists in Kenya want to know, or rather desire to have a job when it comes to music. And it seems that now music is your livelihood. What advice would you give that specific artist who's out there? And there are those individuals who are saying that this cannot be a real job. What can you tell them? That parent who's out there telling their kids, you cannot pursue music or any form of creative expression. What can you tell them?
So I also come from a land where many people in society think music is not a real job. And I wouldn't deny it in a sense that it is extremely difficult to make a living with music. I view myself very, very lucky, not just because of my hard work, but because of how I was brought up. You know, it's all luck. I think it's all 90% is luck. Yeah, but I believe that when we look to other lands, for example, in Europe, music is considered a very, in a sense, prestigious job. When you introduce yourself as a musician or a composer, you never get questions like, oh, how do you support yourself? People view it as an occupation, and rightfully so, because a musician can be a civil worker in many countries in Europe. So we can see that it is just a cultural perspective, whether music can be an occupation or not. Now, in my case, I am, of course, I must say that creating contemporary works does not give me enough revenue for me to survive. I am very thankful to be supported by foundations, by organizations, by universities, by individual patrons. Without their support, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be making music. However, I would like to kind of challenge this argument that music is not an occupation. So the reason that individual patrons or foundations support me is because I believe that they see a value in what I do, and therefore it is a transaction. They support my livelihood, and I create works, and the value is transmitted. There is a transaction. And my question is, isn't that the definition of work? A transaction of the values.
All right. And in your journey, because one, what we did not mention in the beginning was that you have been able to lecture, right? He not only creates music, but is able to share. How is that for you? The feeling of sharing with the next generation about the instrument, about music.
Yes. First, yeah, I do a lot of workshops in universities around the world about my compositions. That's one. But I also do workshops and lectures about the compositional approaches of the show. And the reason that I said I was very lucky is because of my upbringing in Singapore. And because of my upbringing, I am able to speak English. Now, it is very rare for show performers to have a compositional background and to be able to speak English and to explain about this instrument. And yeah, as I said, I am feeling very lucky to be able to do both. And I have found this niche space where there is a hunger to learn about this instrument and to compose for this instrument. However, there is no deep information about the compositional techniques, the notation, the time identity of the show. So I believe that I am currently taking a role to talk about this instrument, introduce this instrument in English.
All right. And I know that is one of your proud moments, right? When it comes to your journey ever since you learned how to you play this specific instrument. If I may ask, what would you consider your proudest moment when it comes to your journey in music? Is it performing in stadiums? Is it interacting with individuals who give you great feedback? Is it the teaching aspect? What exactly would you label as a very proud moment for you?
I usually say that I don't really look at or expect a certain audience reaction. However, I can probably say that my proudest moment in music, in my journey, was in Saint-Martin-Vejurby in France, where I did a concert of my piece, and a very old lady who was sitting at the very front row started tearing. Now we couldn't communicate with each other because she could only speak French, and I am unable to speak French. So I could not ask her what touched her, but she shook my hand and she looked at me and she spoke to me in her language. And that was a moment where it felt like what I am doing is not wrong. I am on the right path to do what I'm doing.
All right. And I think with that said, is there a piece that you would want to recommend to the audiences?
I would say Kirin Telephone. It's, again, one of my works that is definitely my favorite. I'm very proud of that work. So yeah, I would love for the audience to just get lost in the world that I have created. And for composers or musicologists or anybody who would like to see behind the scenes, I hope that you can take a look at the score. Everything, all the details, including choreography, is notated in the score. And I have a page on my website where you can ask for the score, and if it's for analysis purposes, I would send a PDF of the score for free. So, yes.
Free content, free stuff.
Kirin Telephone.
Yeah, we get to enjoy free stuff, guys. Take the opportunity, guys. Okay. One more question that I'm getting is, you've started projects and worked with people all over the world. So how do you make these connections? How did it start? Is it in the university? Is it do you just use social media? How do you get these connections? For instance, in Kenya, how did you know that such a place exists where music lovers exist? Yeah.
For Kenya, I must really give credit to my friend Checkmate. He is a musician here in Nairobi, and he has really helped me to get connected in this city. That's how we know each other now.
Shout out to you, bro.
Yes.
Great job, bro. Be blessed, flowers.
Yes. Regarding your first part of the question, how do I do it? I don't have a clear answer. I don't really purposefully try to make connections, but perhaps maybe I can say that usually composers who have studied in conservatories, we stick to notating our music on paper. So we have a very tightly knit group, and we don't really get out of the group. For me, I am very curious about talking to artists with other backgrounds, sculptors, painters, movement artists, videographers, filmmakers. And I guess that mindset, maybe I can say this, have really connected me with people from all over the world with different backgrounds, different expressive mediums. And we have worked together, collaborated, and created something new. And that's how the community grew.
And right now, is there something coming up in the near future?
In the near future, yes. So after this trip in Kenya, I will go to South Korea, and I am invited to the International Gugak workshop to study the Korean traditional instruments for, I think, 2.5 weeks. And after that, I will go to a place called the Avaloq Farm in the United States. I'm invited there as part of Dionesi to perform on this instrument. And yeah, after that, I'll travel in Helsinki in Finland as part of the opera Women at Point Zero.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see how beautiful that podcast was? It touched my soul in ways that I cannot describe. However, I really hope that you're able to learn so much about the music industry, about the life of Mr. Chatori and his interesting and very creative journey, his amazing instrument. And I hope that it has inspired 1, 2, 3 million people. And as you go, please don't forget to like this video and comment down below. I hope we can be able to do this again. Once again, thank you so much to Mr. Chatori, whose Instagram is right here, and Chamber Music, whose Instagram is right here. And I hope that we can be able to just have more sessions like this, whereby we can be able to engage with different artists. And you never know, you might be the next artist that we approach. Thank you and have a good time. See ya.